Hello, and welcome to the final session of Drax EV Fleet Academy. My name's Adam Hall, and I'm the Director of Energy Services at Drax. I'll be taking you through this fourth and final session. At Drax, we bring our expertise in energy and experience in electric vehicles to help businesses prepare for a successful and enduring electric vehicle future. We have created the EV Fleet Academy to celebrate the launch of My Electric Vehicles, a digital platform that provides fleet managers with all the relevant real-time data they need to manage their electric vehicles, charge points, and energy data all in one place. Focusing only on the information that is relevant to a fleet manager, My Electric Vehicles details how the fleet's vehicles are performing, flags any issues, and offers solutions as to how to resolve them. Through an interactive map, fleet managers can see their full fleet of electric vehicles and charge points, including those that are in use or faulty. My Electric Vehicles can also display the expected range of each vehicle in each fleet based on its current charge and identify which charging stations are within range. This allows fleet managers to communicate with their drivers when in transit. This is the final session of this series that we've created to help you as fleet managers, operators, directors, or anyone who has a role to play in their company's fleet electrification. The past 18 months has had a huge impact on the transport and energy sectors, presenting us with both challenges and opportunities. As a consequence, we're approaching these sessions with the broader context in mind so that you can plan accordingly. We've also got plenty of resources on our website to help, and as I'm sure you know, we've been running a private LinkedIn group for course participants this fortnight, where hopefully you've been commenting and asking questions already. Join the group and you could be in with the chance of winning a carbon neutral staycation with the Quiet Site. The group will stay open for 2 weeks after this course has finished, so you'll still be able to catch up and access previous discussions during this time. We hope you've been enjoying the course material so far. We've covered a lot of ground in the previous sessions: installation and charging, your responsibility to employees in the adoption of electric vehicles, company policy, and using data effectively to support your efforts. Another key part of fleet electrification is leveraging the positive story that you will tell your customers, your employees, and the rest of the world. So how can your business plot a course for a more sustainable future using electric vehicles and tell a compelling story to both your employees and the rest of the world? This is what we'll be discussing in today's session. Here's a quick glance at what we're going to cover in our final session. First, let's zoom out from fleets and look at the context of our drive towards sustainability. It's an issue that is being reported on in the news with increasing frequency. It is unequivocal. The IPCC report released earlier in the year gave us all a wake-up call. The upshot is the imperative of taking environmental action. We're all feeling it on a personal, professional, and public level. We must drastically reduce carbon dioxide emissions to avoid further disaster. Emphasis has been placed on reducing fossil fuel consumption and switching to renewable energy sources. It just needs to happen faster. During the first lockdown of the pandemic last year, the roads and skies were quiet, emissions reduced, and the air cleared. The immediate benefits of reducing emissions was clear to see and feel. But as lockdowns have eased, business as usual seems to have resumed for the transport sector, so we're unlikely to see any net gains. Just a glimpse of what's possible. People are asking themselves, what can I do about this on a personal level? So we're seeing them become more discerning about the businesses they support and work for. Consumers are increasingly conscious of sustainable practices and will favour organisations that can show that their values align. The onus is therefore on companies to comprehensively demonstrate their green credentials. A study by Deloitte this year found that in the past 12 months, consumers have become more environmentally conscious and are now acting on it. 34% of those spoken to have chosen brands that have environmentally sustainable practices and/or values. Just under a fifth have opted for low carbon emissions and/or shared modes of transport, and around 16% have switched to renewable energy sources or products. It's a topic where everyone can be considered a stakeholder. Pressure to change and improve can be felt from multiple angles, from customers to leadership, employees to legislation. No doubt, businesses are feeling the impetus to improve sustainability and environmental practices, like reducing waste, reducing their carbon footprint, or commitment to sustainable and circular practices. But of course, it doesn't exist in a vacuum. We're also relying heavily on government policy and infrastructure to incentivise greener behaviour, the public and private sectors supplementing one another. Nudges in the right direction and more tangible ways that people can do their bit can be really effective. Take the 5p charge of plastic bags, for example. It saw a 95% decrease of plastic bags in supermarkets. This can increase the pace of individual consumer behaviour change, which is also key to success. The onus is then on the brand to make sure that their business is not only implementing these sustainable practices and that they're ingrained into their business strategy, but also that they're articulating them effectively to all their stakeholders. Brands should, of course, avoid greenwashing and make their claims and standards clear and substantiated. What was once a differentiator may soon become a compulsory requirement. It can feel daunting, or perhaps even frustrating for fleet managers to hear such ominous reports, but then have to grapple with the day-to-day reality, where putting things into practice takes time and money. For example, low emission zones, congestion charges, and a patchwork approach to rule setting across the UK are making it more complex to drive internal combustion engine vehicles, especially in bigger cities. But the cost and availability of procuring electric vehicles on its own means it can't happen overnight, so they're still having to navigate both. This is the process that we're going to focus on in today's session. So why now? 69% of office workers agree that the business they work for could do more for the environment. Electric vehicles are an increasingly appealing opportunity for businesses to improve their sustainability. Even if a business has never had any sort of fleet before, if employees drive to work, helping them switch to an EV is still a contribution of the company towards greener practices. And employees buy in because it's also a way to feel empowered to make a positive environmental contribution themselves. Fleet electrification is not only an obvious and inevitable way for a business to reduce carbon dioxide, but also a critical component of the UK's EV adoption in general and achieving the government's Road to Zero targets. While the debate around emissions for ICE versus EV isn't black and white or one size fits all, the science is clear that EVs are cleaner and more sustainable for businesses today. This argument will only become stronger as technologies develop and the grid continues to decarbonise. As a corporate fleet manager, a procurement officer, or an energy manager, you're probably already convinced that electric vehicles are part of your future transport mix. However, several perceived challenges still exist when it comes to introducing electric vehicles. Research by Masternaut captures a range of issues that weigh on fleet managers' minds, with three of the most frequently cited pain points being the prohibitive cost, a lack of national charging infrastructure, and the ability for the fleet to charge at home. However, the reality is much more positive. Fleet operators who are already progressing towards transition find that more than half see good EV performance, 51% report costs as good, and well over a third have felt that it helped their brand image. So once the initial hurdles are overcome, EVs will quickly begin proving their worth demonstrably. Here, we've got 5 reasons you should start making the switch now. You can use these to help make the case, should anyone in your leadership team need persuading. Firstly, EVs produce zero tailpipe emissions, and in addition to this, there's the road tax benefits that come alongside this. They have lower maintenance costs. With no engine, transmission, or gearbox, there are far fewer working parts in an EV than an ICE vehicle. With less to maintain, less can go wrong, and running costs are invariably lower. There are also renewable energy advantages. EVs are part of your business's sustainability plan. On-site energy generation assets, such as solar panel installations, can charge your fleet at no additional fuel cost. They also give unbeatable insight. EV fleets can leverage state-of-the-art telematics, helping build an accurate and real-time overview of your fleet operation. And finally, it gives you a chance to future-proof your business. The government has mandated the end of new petrol and diesel car sales by 2030. Switching effectively will need to take place over an extended period of time, so don't leave it too late. To continue looking forwards, when it comes to electrification, there's exponential room for innovation and growth. Keep one eye on the future, and your business can take advantage of imminent advances, such as vehicle developments, particularly within the commercial vehicle market, which will allow you to convert more ICE vehicles in your fleet over time. Home-based vehicle charging, which offers further operational opportunities and can be tied in by the same software as your workplace fleet arrangement. And vehicle-to-grid charging, which will turn your fleet into an electric asset that offers revenue streams through providing power back to the grid in times of peak demand or price. One thing is making the change, another is making sure that it is clearly communicated and visible to the business. Firstly, who are the key people involved in this? There will be many internal stakeholders that will either need to be involved, informed, or consulted along the way as part of this work. There's the RACI framework to be considered. Who is responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed? The level of buy-in and where the impetus is coming from, for example, employees, leadership, or customers, will determine where your efforts need to be focused. Ideally, everyone should buy into the reasons why you're making the changes. The first step must be a clear commitment from the wider business, and in particular, its senior leadership to EV fleets. The attitude of leadership when approaching this is critical for removing barriers, supporting you, and securing internal buy-in. However, some studies have shown that fleet managers are eager to make the transition to electric, but feel held back by their leadership team. If this is the case for you, then this leadership hesitancy, or any stakeholder hesitancy for that matter, can actually be leveraged into a positive force. It is imperative that leadership get behind sustainability initiatives. So what would it take to overcome their hesitancy? Do they lack information, confidence, money, resources, or do they have any other reservations? It focuses the process, ensuring it's logical, data-driven, and robust, rather than a leap of faith or a passion project that loses momentum or is too dependent on a small number of key people. If it convinces leadership and they put their weight behind the programme, the rest of the company should follow. If, on the other hand, your leadership team are the ones driving the change or are very supportive of fleet electrification, this is ideal. You can leverage their clout and reach to secure wider buy-in from the business and be your voice and ambassador when it comes to communicating your goals and your progress. They can also be a visible advocate at board level and use their position as a company spokesperson in the media, even joining forces with other companies or partners to amplify your own message. There needs to be a statement of intent to all interested parties. This is going to happen, and we are going to work together to achieve the goal. Here is what we'd like from you in order to achieve it, and here's how we're going to support you. Transparency and communication are crucial for assessing and improving sustainability practices. By having an ongoing, open dialogue when recognising faults and opportunities, trust can develop. Employees can have a big part to play. They always do when it comes to change within an organisation. Many employees would warmly welcome their employer to commit to more sustainable practices, but they'd probably expect their employer to support and inform them in making these choices. You can motivate them by incentivizing sustainable behaviours both at work and at home, especially if your workforce has flexible working policies in place. This could be supported by resources to improve their own carbon footprint and that of their families, rewards and subsidies to nudge them towards other greener choices, such as a bike to work scheme or preferential parking for car sharers. Your fleet drivers have an important role to play here too, as we've covered in our first session. They are the public face of your company. Armed with your sustainability goals and how electric vehicles are improving the business's carbon footprint, this is a really nice opportunity for a positive touchpoint with clients and customers. Fleet electrification may also sit within a wider drive for decarbonisation. Does your company already have resources to help employees with home energy efficiency, reducing waste, or information on low carbon travel? Information about electric vehicles sits nicely alongside these from an individual employee's point of view. As far as internal communications go, each organisation undoubtedly has talented individuals, so why not utilise them to drive behaviour change within the company? Colleagues listen to each other's opinions, but they may not pay attention to every single... Screw that up. As far as internal communications go, each organisation undoubtedly has talented individuals, so why not utilise them to drive behaviour change within the company? Colleagues listen to each other's opinions, but they may not pay attention to every internal newsletter or the latest sustainability objectives. Ask enthusiastic employees to help. If there are early adopters of EVs, or some that are just really passionate about sustainability, would they be willing to be advocates and support others? They could motivate staff to be more sustainable in general, or be specific support in switching to an EV and help others select their vehicle or navigate company policy, for example. Big or small, tactical or strategic, evolving your fleet is still a change project, and it should be treated as such. Consider bringing in experts to lead sustainability workshops or creating tailored training materials and deliver them to your business. This could be an external speaker to give a presentation or run a workshop that provides insight into the benefits of saving energy for your company, employees, and the country. It could be more outward-looking, covering broader topics like an introduction to net zero, sustainable working practices, and tips to reduce your personal carbon footprint. The other complementary approach could be sessions tailored to your company, covering things like your company's sustainability targets and your brand perception for ethically minded consumers, which is a growing number, as we've already discussed. At Drax, we have experts who can run and manage sessions like this when we're consulting with clients about their energy and fleet requirements. We found that they work really well for several reasons. Firstly, an external voice can add some real weight to the message, especially if it is then driven internally by the same people. It shows employees that the business is serious about undertaking the process, and also draws on industry examples and wider knowledge that the business may not have time or access to. And finally, employees are briefly taken out of their day-to-day and can get behind the business's plans and see how they fit in. The process to improving a company's sustainability practices can be lengthy and complex. Having said that, however, if the challenge looks insurmountable, it can feel too daunting to even begin. We must resist overthinking and drowning in the scale of the challenge and begin by thinking small and swift. You may need to show proof of concept and gather your own data at the outset, and low-hanging fruit is a valuable way to demonstrate EV capability. You could design a small pilot with a limited number of passionate stakeholders to collect the proof required for the wider business case and satisfy the leadership team that this is a scalable and effective solution. Using its data insights, Masternaut has already discovered that 40% of UK fleet vehicle journeys could go EV right now with little to no impact on day-to-day operation, while reducing CO2 tailpipe emissions by 8.3 million tonnes a year. Operators need a quick and reliable way to identify the journeys most easily transferable from ICE to EV, also known as your quick wins. We've already discussed in our previous session on data how you can do that using your telematics data. Companies may be starting from zero EVs, and optimum efficiency may never get up to 100%, as EVs are not yet the best choice for all tasks and scenarios. Create simple roadmaps with timescale deliverables and align them with leasing cycles. Combining the statement of intent with the confidence of your own data helps communicate to everyone why this is important and, ideally, how this will have a positive impact on your working practices. As people begin to see the benefits of EVs, it brings the confidence to move forward and scale to ever more ambitious activity. Step by step, win by win, goal by goal, companies will move successfully to EV fleets. In 2019, fleet cars accounted for 53% of the new car market in the UK. Fleet electrification is therefore a critical catalyst that will enable the EV revolution. At present, consumer appetite is high. A recent Ofgem survey found 1 in 4 consumers planning to buy an electric car in the next 5 years. For those that aren't, cost is still the biggest barrier. Even with government subsidies, an EV still proved too costly for many people. Company cars procured through an employer salary sacrifice scheme is an extremely attractive option to people who want an electric car but couldn't otherwise entertain the idea. It can remove the barriers to entry beyond the early adopters and bring it to a point of critical mass. Benefit in kind savings have largely been driving the adoption of EVs for company car fleets, as we've already discussed in our previous session. It will enable the growth of the second-hand EV market. The lack of an effective national strategy for creating curbside charging infrastructure is emerging as the biggest barrier to the adoption of electric vehicles by businesses, according to the Association of Fleet Operators. Currently, the scale of demand for a comprehensive charging network in the UK is driven by operational fleets. The fleet market charging points look set to offer more stability than that of the national one at present. This is because charging points for fleets are more likely to be purchased and installed by companies that can commit to long-term contracts. It's this offer of financial and operational certainty that makes it attractive to invest in. However, fleet managers will need to rely on integration with public charging infrastructure to supplement their own private charge points, especially for their operational fleets with longer journeys and less downtime. They'll need the confidence that public charge points will be fit for purpose and can support an acceleration of EV growth on the UK's roads. The government's other key role in fleet electrification is the legislation and financial support for electric vehicles, not least by providing fleet operators with long-term certainty in terms of grants, exemptions, and tax implications. These are all factors that fleet operators need to consider for long-term planning, as it affects operational costs and vehicle procurement, especially as leasing cycles tend to be in excess of 4 years. We recommend you stay abreast of the government's goals and timelines. Consider how your plan plots against this. Does your plan assume a reliance on national charging infrastructure, for example? And how can you mitigate for these dependencies? We've discussed engaging with your internal stakeholders, but if you do have great sustainability initiatives and success stories, you'll want to tell the world as well. All of your brand's touchpoints and channels should be consistent with your values and goals. This is why it's so important to have sustainability weaved into your business strategy, as to bolster this on top of everything else will be much harder. As long as your external communications are reflective of your internal processes and longer-term commitments, that's the most important thing. It has to be this way around. Consumers are demanding more accountability and action from brands, it's true, but they're also smart and discerning when it comes to recognising performative activism or greenwashing. Even less shiny and interesting initiatives, such as processes in your operations or supply chain, should be noted, perhaps on your website, as it's all proof you are meaning what you say. The more newsworthy, sustainable stories can be found in trade media, like Fleet News and Fleet World. There are a lot of stories and case studies of brands committing to electrifying their fleets, which is great to see. That is the beginning. Keep telling your story as it evolves. How is it going 6, 12, 18 months down the line? A partner, research, or an awareness raising initiative is another great way to stay visible in trade press. That concludes the fourth session of our EV Fleet Academy. By now, we hope you can take away a good grounding on what needs to happen and how you can begin. We've created a handy guide of people who should be in your internal stakeholder group and how to work with them. And we've linked it from the email introducing today's topic. If you'd like Drax to be your chosen partner to consult on your business's journey, then get in touch with us by following the link here. If you have any questions for us on the course materials, or any burning questions for other fleet operators and energy managers, head on over to the LinkedIn group where the discussions will continue. The group will stay open for 2 weeks after this final session, and we'll be announcing the winner of our competition to win a £1,200 gift voucher for the Quiet Site, a beautiful, award-winning, carbon-neutral holiday destination in the Lake District. There's still time to enter, so visit the LinkedIn group for more details. You'll also be able to rewatch any of these sessions and access the supporting resources using that link too. Thanks very much for listening, and best of luck with your fleet electrification.
Excellent stuff, Adam. Nailed it. How was it?
Yeah, no, it's fine. Just at the end, my mind started just wandering to all kinds of places.
It's I know exactly the feeling. You get to a point where you start overthinking, like, I've been flowing for quite a long time now and I haven't made a mistake. Oh wait, my mind has wandered. I'm making a mistake.
Exactly. But no, I think it was okay. But if you need me to do any other bits, then let me know.
No, I really think that was brilliant. You're a consummate professional. That was great.
All right then, Steve. Shall I see who's available next and then let you know?
Yeah, if I know you said Jeff is around, I'm happy to go Jeff next. What I'll probably do is end this call and make sure your video is properly downloaded, save that. And then if we say to Jeff to maybe start his at 12:15, that gives me time to go and grab a little bit of lunch, and maybe he could do the same and grab some water or whatever, and then we'll hit the ground running.
Perfect.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Henrietta Stock. I'm the Energy and Carbon Manager at SES Water. We're a small water company based in Redhill in Surrey. We provide clean water to almost 1 million customers in parts of Surrey, Sussex, Kent, and into London. And I'm responsible for our energy procurement and management, energy efficiency programs, as well as carbon reporting and delivering our recently published net zero carbon route map to 2030. And I'm just going to briefly talk to you about our own experience of working with Drax to switch our fleet to EVs. So when I joined SES at the end of 2017, it was the first time that we had ever had anyone dedicated to this role. So as part of developing our first energy strategy, so back in 2018, EVs were identified then as a technology that really sits right at the heart of our energy strategy. And they also deliver on parts of our corporate strategy as well, reducing impact on the environment and improving our communities. Our vehicles are also responsible for a significant part of our carbon footprint. Although as a water company, we use a lot of electricity for pumping, because we purchase 100% renewable electricity from Drax, our fleet and the fleet of our main contractor working on our behalf makes up around 1/3 of our remaining carbon footprint. So we had the desire and we had the carbon case back in 2018. The question was, did we have the financial case to make the switch to EVs? So Drax, as our supplier, approached us with an EVs as a service model. And that model really helped to demonstrate that the total cost of ownership was the same as our traditional model of purchasing diesel vehicles. So Drax proposed that we try a 10-vehicle trial in which we paid a monthly fee that covered the vehicle leases, the telematics, the charging point operation and maintenance, and all of the back-end data for that, and also the electricity to power the vehicles as well. And that really made a big difference because suddenly the financial case for switching to EVs was really clear. So we started this trial with Drax. We kicked off in 2019. And because Drax also brought expertise in each of these areas around the vehicles and the charging points and the telematics, that really helped us to accelerate our progress, bringing in that expertise to us. So I was going to just briefly cover some of the challenges that we faced as we started our trial and how we overcame them. The first one was that issue around whole life cost and the financial case, which I mentioned was dealt with in part by Drax's model. We did also have to move from a fleet model of purchasing our vehicles to leasing them. I think that was more of a mental hurdle than anything, but it did present some challenges. The next one was really the key one around the range of the vehicles that are available compared to the schedule of the drivers. Because our liveried fleet vehicles go home with drivers at night, rather than them being parked up in a depot or anything, we very much had to look at each individual driver, including the distance that they were commuting into our area every day. So it really does have to be looked at on a case-by-case basis. And we started with those employees who were based at fixed locations during the day, as they could then much more reliably charge without it disrupting their working day and their operations. So although there are some drivers for whom it's more of a challenge, there are always going to be some for whom actually it's quite feasible to switch to EVs. So we started with those drivers. Vehicle load, that was a concern in some cases for some of our drivers are carrying a lot of equipment. Again, we started with employees where this was less of a challenge. And obviously as vehicles continue to develop, it becomes less of an issue anyway. Maintenance of the EVs was a bit of a concern initially, partly because we were moving to leasing vehicles. We actually have our own garage facility as a company, and we wanted to retain that. And there was some concern with leasing vehicles that we wouldn't be responsible for that. But the arrangements have been that we are able to do that. And actually, that's become a real opportunity for us because our garage is also open to the public. And so having staff in the garage trained in maintaining EVs has given us something extra which we can offer to the public in our local community. And then user acceptability as well. So how easy did drivers find the switch to EVs? This challenge was really addressed through having really quality sort of handovers of the vehicles. Drax were able to provide us with some vehicles to trial. We've had myth-busting sessions, which Drax have run for our staff, and we've also been looking at driver training. And one of the things that we found out once we'd started the trial, and we could look at the data from the telematics, was that our best driver could get twice the range of our worst driver on a charge. And as you can imagine, that can become quite a significant operational issue. So driver behaviour is really key to getting the most out of electric vehicles. That's something that we learned from this trial, and something that Drax have also been able to support us with, helping our drivers to understand how to drive an electric vehicle better. So then a few issues as well around more on the sort of charging point infrastructure side. For the fast chargers that we've installed, we've not had too many challenges with the electrical requirements in terms of capacity at our sites, but we have had to do some work to upgrade the electrical equipment and coordinate with the DNO and so on. In terms of reliability of the charging points, this has sometimes been a challenge for us. But again, this headache has been largely taken away as Drax have held the relationship with the charge point supplier and resolved any issues very promptly whenever we've had sort of reliability concerns. And we've all learned from that process as well. And some of our later charge point installations are different hardware to some of our earlier ones. I'll briefly mention V2G, so vehicle to grid. As it was mentioned earlier, we thought when we started the trial that it might be something we would do in the future, and it may still be. So we have vehicles with the capability for V2G, but I think because our vehicles go home at the end of the day, we don't have a bank of vehicles parked up in the depot in that crucial sort of evening peak. When there's a lot of opportunity from vehicle to grid. So it's not something that we're doing at the moment, but again, potentially something for the future. In terms of the impact on our energy contract from us now demanding more electricity for our vehicles, that was fortunately never really a concern because of the fact that we were working with Drax on the electric vehicle programme. Home charging, this was a challenge which we initially kind of put to one side as being a bit of a can of worms, thinking about how we install charging points in our employees' homes. But it is something that we're now doing. We have a few home chargers installed for some of our staff, very much with the support of Drax to get that over the line. What we have at the moment, I'd say, is probably not a fully refined solution in terms of how we do that and how we reimburse employees for electricity that goes into the vehicles and so on. But it's really workable for the numbers that we have so far. And again, that's something that we can sort of collaborate and develop as we go. And the final challenge that I'll mention is about employee policies. So obviously there are lots of policies that have to go hand in hand with rolling out electric vehicles, so company car policy, provision of home chargers, etc. There's a lot of work that's required behind the scenes. Luckily, we found that our employees were really pushing for electric vehicles as company cars because of the tax advantages. So we've had, it's really kind of been an open door that we're pushing out with employees, and that's made some of this activity a lot easier. And we've consciously tried to incentivise employees providing the home chargers and providing electricity at cost at our sites for employees to use has helped to incentivise them to move to electric vehicles as well. So then in terms of what does the future look like? From our initial 10 vehicle trial that Drax had proposed, we currently have 7 electric cars and a plug-in hybrid, and we've got another 7 cars on order. We have 12 vans and a plug-in hybrid van and another couple of vans on order. So we're rapidly rolling out more vehicles. We're expecting to hit 25% of our fleet being electric or plug-in hybrid by the end of March next year, and almost all of that is the pure EVs. That's very much what we're targeting, with the odd plug-in hybrid where we need to for operational reasons. And now that the water industry has signed up to be net zero carbon for 2030, there's an even greater imperative to electrify the fleet. It's a key part of that industry route map to achieve net zero. And we're really seen as kind of industry leaders in the water industry because of the trial that we've done with Drax and the amount that we've learned from that. And we're collaborating with other water companies to support them on their journey as well. And the electric vehicles is really seen as a positive news story. And I'm not just talking about how our brand is seen locally with our customers, but also internally in the company. Employees love the fact that we've got electric vehicles. They're really proud that the company is making progress here. Lots of positive feeling associated with our fleet transition as well, which we've achieved through our partnership with Drax. Thank you very much.
That concludes the 4th session of our EV Fleet Academy. By now, we hope you can take away a good grounding on what needs to happen and how you can begin. We've created a handy guide of people who should be in your internal stakeholder group and how to work with them, and we've linked it from the email introducing today's topic. If you'd like Drax to be your chosen partner to consult on your business's journey, then get in touch with us by following the link here. If you have any questions for us on the course materials or any burning questions for other fleet operators and energy managers, head on over to the LinkedIn group where the discussions will continue. The group will stay open for 2 weeks after this final session, and we'll be announcing the winner of our competition to win a £1,200 gift voucher for the Quiet site a beautiful, award-winning, carbon-neutral holiday destination in the Lake District. There's still time to enter, so visit the LinkedIn group for more details. You'll also be able to rewatch any of these sessions and access the supporting resources using that link too. Thanks very much for listening, and best of luck with your fleet electrification.